the London Hammer. Let's start with an object so simple yet so utterly baffling it feels like a glitch in the Matrix. It's a hammer, a plain old iron hammer with a wooden handle. But here's the kicker. It was discovered in London, Texas in 1936, encased in a solid chunk of 100-million-year-old rock. Let that sink in. A modern-looking hammer found in Cretaceous limestone from the age of the dinosaurs. How is that even possible? The story goes that a couple, Max and Emma Hahn, found a strange rock nodule with a piece of wood sticking out of it. They took it home, and years later their son broke it open, revealing the hammerhead inside. The rock itself reportedly contained Cretaceous period fossils. But the hammer is the real puzzle. Metallurgical analysis shows it's made of 96.6% iron, 2.6% chlorine, and 0.74 sulfur. This composition is bizarre. Modern iron is never that pure without using modern smelting techniques, and the lack of carbon is especially strange. This unique alloy makes it incredibly resistant to rust. A notch filed into it in the 1930s has remained corrosion-free for decades. So, what are we really looking at here? Skeptics, of course, have a more mundane explanation. They argue the rock isn't ancient limestone, but a concretion, a type of mineral deposit that can form relatively quickly around an object. They suggest the hammer is probably a 19th century miner's tool that was dropped and became encased in hardened minerals over a few decades. It's a plausible theory. But does it fully account for the weird metallurgy or the claims of Cretaceous fossils? And that's the beautiful, frustrating thing about the London Hammer. It sits right on the edge of belief. Is it definitive proof of a lost civilization of toolmakers? Evidence of time travel? Or is it just a rusty old hammer that fell into a mineral-rich puddle and became a modern legend? What do you think? The Koso Artifact. If you thought a hammer in a rock was weird, get ready for the Koso Artifact. In 1961, 3 rockhounds were searching for geodes in the Koso Mountains of California. They found what they thought was a promising specimen, took it back to their shop, and cut it open with a diamond saw. Inside, they didn't find beautiful crystals. Instead, they found something that looked for all the world like a modern spark plug. The object was encased in a hard, clay-like material, surrounded by a layer of what was claimed to be fossilized shells. A geologist who supposedly examined the shells dated the geode to be at least 500,000 years old. Inside this ancient rock was a porcelain cylinder, and in its center, a 2-millimeter shaft of bright metal. X-rays of the artifact reportedly revealed a tiny spring at one end, just like the internal components of a spark plug. It was a piece of 20th century technology trapped in 500,000-year-old rock. The discovery caused a sensation, becoming a poster child for ancient astronaut theories. Here, it seemed, was proof that someone, humans, aliens, time travelers, was manufacturing complex tech when our ancestors were just figuring out fire. So, case closed? Not quite. The Koso Artifact has a frustrating habit of disappearing. It was last seen in a museum in the late 1960s and has since vanished, making modern analysis impossible. Skeptics argue that the geode was just a concretion of iron oxide that formed recently. And the spark plug? They suggest it was a 1920s-era champion spark plug, commonly used in mining equipment in that area. It's possible the spark plug simply fell into the ground and was encased in a rapidly forming iron nodule. It's a far less exciting theory, but without the artifact, we can't be sure. Was it a mundane piece of lost equipment, or a genuine ghost of a technology that existed long before its time? The Pirirace Map. Maps are supposed to show us the world as we know it. But in 1929, a map was discovered in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace that seems to show the world as it was thousands of years before anyone was supposed to know about it. It's the Pirirace Map, drawn on gazelle skin in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral named Pirirace. He claimed he compiled it from 20 older source maps, some from the time of Alexander the Great, and even one allegedly used by Columbus himself. The map is remarkable for its accuracy, showing the coasts of Europe, North Africa, and Brazil with incredible precision for the era. But that's not the part that sends shivers down your spine. The most controversial feature is what it appears to show at the bottom, the northern coast of Antarctica. And here's the kicker. It seems to show it without its ice cap. The coastline depicted bears a striking resemblance to the subglacial landmass of Antarctica, which we only mapped in 1958 using modern seismic echo sounding. How could a 16th century admiral know what Antarctica looked like under 2 miles of ice? The continent wasn't even officially discovered until 1820. This has led to some wild theories. The most famous, from Professor Charles Hapgood, is that the map is based on source material from a lost, prehistoric seafaring civilization that mapped the entire globe thousands of years ago before Antarctica was frozen over. It's a tantalizing idea, a lost golden age of exploration whose knowledge has only survived in fragmented copies. Of course, mainstream cartographers have other ideas. They argue the landmass isn't Antarctica at all, but a fanciful depiction of Terra Australis Incognita, a mythical southern continent. Others suggest it's just the coast of South America, distorted to fit on the parchment. But that resemblance to the actual subglacial coastline is uncanny. The Pirirace Map remains a profound enigma. Is it a product of 16th century guesswork, or a genuine window into a lost chapter of human history? The Quimaya Airplanes. In the vaults of the Gold Museum in Bogota, Colombia, lies a collection of small golden objects that defy easy explanation. Made by the Quimaya civilization around 1000 AD, they are officially labeled as stylized insects or birds. But if you look at them, they look less like birds and more like airplanes. These Quimaya airplanes are about 2 inches long and have all the features of a modern aircraft: a distinct fuselage, delta-shaped wings, and a vertical tail fin. They are clearly designed to be aerodynamic. They look nothing like any known bird or insect in the region. They look like jets. In the 1990s, German aeronautical engineers Peter Belting and Konrad Lubbers became so intrigued that they built scaled-up, radio-controlled models of them. And guess what? They flew. Perfectly. This, of course, has led to speculation that the Quimaya people either had contact with an advanced flying civilization or possessed the knowledge of flight themselves. Did ancient South Americans build gliders or even powered aircraft 1,000 years before the Wright brothers? It seems incredible, but the objects are right there. Archaeologists offer a more down-to-earth explanation. They argue the figurines are stylized representations of flying fish or stingrays. They point out that other Quimaya art is highly stylized and shouldn't be taken literally. The fact that a model of it can fly, they say, is just a coincidence. But is it? The objects have features, like the vertical tail fin, that are crucial for flight stability but don't exist on any flying fish. They seem deliberately designed. So what are they? Quirky pieces of art, or miniature replicas of ancient flying machines? The Sakara Bird. Let's stay on the theme of ancient aviation and travel to Egypt. In 1898, in a tomb in Sakara, archaeologists found a small wooden object dating to around 200 BC. For decades, it sat in a box in the Cairo Museum, labeled a wooden bird model. And it does look a bit like a bird. But in 1969, an Egyptologist named Khalil Messiha realized this was no ordinary bird. The Sakara bird has features that are very unbird-like. Its wings are shaped like an airfoil, designed to generate lift. Most importantly, it has a vertical tail fin, like a rudder on an airplane, not the horizontal tail feathers of a real bird. The wings also have a slight dihedral angle, angling upwards from the body, a feature that provides stability in modern aircraft. It looks less like a toy and more like a model of a glider. Could the ancient Egyptians have understood aerodynamics and built working gliders over 2,000 years ago? It's a staggering thought. When a full-scale replica of the Sakara bird was built and tested, it was found to be a highly efficient glider. It flew. This has led to speculation that the object was a ceremonial model representing flight, or perhaps even a scale model for a much larger, man-carrying glider. The mainstream view, however, is that it's simply a weather vane, or a ceremonial object, and its resemblance to a glider is coincidental. They argue there is no other evidence of Egyptian aviation, no texts, no larger artifacts, nothing. But the object itself is hard to ignore. Its features seem too perfectly aligned with the principles of flight to be an accident. Was the Sakara Bird just a whimsical carving, or a silent clue that the secrets of the sky were known to the Egyptians long before we imagined? The Dendera Light. Deep within the Temple of Hathor, at Dendera, Egypt, there are stone carvings that have become one of the most contentious mysteries in Egyptology. On the walls of a dark, underground crypt, reliefs depict figures holding what look for all the world like giant light bulbs. These Dendera lights are large, pear-shaped bulbs with a long, snake-like filament running through them. The base of the bulb is attached to a lotus flower connected by a cable to a box that looks remarkably like a jed pillar, a symbol associated with power. The whole scene is eerily reminiscent of a modern electrical diagram. The bulb looks like a Crookes tube, an early cathode ray tube, with the snake as the plasma filament inside. Proponents of the ancient electricity theory argue this is exactly what it is, a depiction of a sophisticated electrical lighting system. This, they say, would explain the lack of soot on the ceilings of many tombs. If they used torches, the ceilings would be black. If they used electric light, they would be clean. Egyptologists, however, vehemently disagree. They offer a mythological explanation. The scene depicts the birth of the snake god Harsamtus from a lotus flower. The bulb is the womb of the sky goddess Nut, and the cable is the barge of the sun god. It's purely symbolic, they say, and any resemblance to technology is coincidental. But the images are so specific, so technical looking. Is it really just a coincidence? Or did the ancient Egyptians harness electricity thousands of years before Tesla and Edison? The Dendera reliefs remain a fascinating, polarizing mystery. The Bong Pipes. In a remote region of China's Qinghai province, on a mysterious, pyramid-shaped mountain called Mount Baigong, lies a discovery that defies all conventional history. In a cave at the foot of the mountain, a network of metal pipes, some as large as 1.5 feet in diameter, runs from the ceiling deep into the mountain. It gets weirder. Dozens more of these iron pipes are found on the shores of the nearby Tosan Lake. And here's the mind-bending part. Using thermoluminescence dating, the pipes were estimated to be around 51 years old. 150,000 years ago. That's a time when our ancestors were primitive, pre-human species. The invention of metallurgy was far in the future. So who built this extensive network of metal pipes? And why? The theories are wild. The most popular one, promoted by local authorities, is that the site is the remains of an alien launch pad. Geologists have offered a more natural explanation, suggesting the pipes could be the result of a rare geological phenomenon involving iron-rich magma or fossilized tree roots. But none of these explanations fully account for the seemingly organized layout of the pipes. The site remains an official mystery. Are the Bong Pipes a natural wonder, or the last rusting remnants of a technology so ancient we have no record of its creators? The Wolf Seg Iron. In 1885, a worker in a coal mine in Wolf Seg, Austria, broke open a block of coal and found a strange metal object inside. Known as the Wolf Seg Iron or the Salzburg Cube, it was a small, almost cubical block of iron, with a deep, precise incision running around its middle. The coal it was found in was at least 20 million years old. The object was taken to the Salzburg Museum and became a source of debate. It was clearly artificial, it was machined, but it was found in a geological context that made its existence impossible. Later analysis suggested it was made of a type of cast iron, lacking nickel, meaning it wasn't from a meteorite. However, the truth might be more mundane. Later investigations suggested the object wasn't a perfect cube and was probably iron ballast from early mining equipment. The coal might have been a younger deposit that fell into an older mine shaft. This would explain how a relatively modern object could end up in an ancient layer. The problem is, the original object mysteriously disappeared from the Salzburg Museum early in the 20th century. All we have now are plaster casts. Without the original to perform modern analysis on, we can't be sure. Was it just a piece of old mining gear, its story exaggerated over time, or was it something more? The Kingody Hammer. Our journey into impossible artifacts takes us to Scotland. In 18, quarrymen split open a large block of sandstone near the village of Kingody. There, perfectly embedded within it, was an iron hammer. The sandstone block came from a formation of the Devonian period, making it roughly 400 million years old. The discovery was reported by the renowned physicist Sir David Brewster. He described how the head of the hammer was about 3.5 inches long, with part of the wooden handle still attached, though it had turned to coal. The hammer was so firmly embedded that a portion of the rock had to be chiseled away to expose it. A 400-million-year-old hammer. This was a time when the first amphibians were just beginning to walk on land. The idea of a manufactured iron tool from this period is not just unlikely. It's impossible according to everything we know about history. So what's the explanation? As with many of these artifacts, the original has been lost. Skeptics argue the story was likely a hoax or an exaggeration. Perhaps a modern hammer fell into a crack in the rock and the story was embellished. But what if the report was accurate? It would mean a technologically advanced civilization existed on Earth when the most complex life forms were fish. The Kingody Hammer, though lost to time, leaves us with a tantalizing and deeply unsettling question: the Dorchester pot. Our final artifact seems to come from an impossible time. In 1852, a report in the Scientific American described an incredible discovery in Dorchester, Massachusetts. During a blasting operation, a small metallic pot was blown out of the solid rock it was embedded in. The pot was bell-shaped, about 4.5 inches high, made of a zinc-silver alloy, and featured intricate floral patterns inlaid with pure silver. The rock it came from, the Roxbury conglomerate, was estimated to be around 600 million years old. A 600-million-year-old, intricately decorated metal vase. This is from the Ediacaran period before the Cambrian explosion, when life on Earth consisted of little more than strange, soft-bodied organisms. The idea of a civilization capable of advanced metallurgy at this time is beyond comprehension. Naturally, this object became a cornerstone for those who challenged the conventional historical timeline. So, what is the mainstream explanation? Skeptics point out that the object strongly resembles a Victorian-era pipe holder. They suggest the pot wasn't actually embedded in the solid rock, but was simply in the debris of the explosion, and the witnesses mistakenly assumed it had come from within the stone. And, like so many of these frustrating artifacts, the Dorchester pot has vanished. All we have is the 19th century report. But the story lingers. Was it just a misplaced Victorian trinket, its discovery misreported? Or was it a genuine artifact from a time so deep in Earth's past that we can't even imagine who could have made it? It's a puzzle that may never be solved, a tantalizing glimpse into the possibility that our history is far stranger than we know.